Hello, welcome to another Alpha Strike replay video. My name is Adam, and this is my friend Tarron.
Hey, buddy.
It's hot today, mate, isn't it?
It is, and I think it's only appropriate that we use this summer interlude of 39 billion degrees to talk about fire.
Yes, I think so. I think this is it. All right, mate.
Swoosh.
Right.
First one of the year.
So, fire is interesting. It offers some. Well, look, you have to do a lot of extra work in your game each turn.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with a negative, I guess, so we can build it up from there. Because it's still worth having, but there's a lot of steps.
You look at BattleTech and you go, the only bit you really actually need is that beginner box. Everything after that is optional.
Yeah, true.
You don't have to do any of the rest. So if you want to include any given thing into your game, it's going to involve extra record keeping. Every single extra rule that you put in there is going to involve extra record keeping, dice rolls, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But fire and smoke, really cool ones to put in if you're interested in taking it to that level.
Yeah.
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. There.
So for us to have a look at that, for those of you following on at home, it is Tactical Operations. The cover might be different, but this is the source book you need. Okay?
And fire starts on page 43. 43. And the most important thing to remember about fire is that if a fire starts on your board, it's there for the rest of the game unless you put it out.
Yeah.
It will keep going.
Yeah.
And all of the effects that we're going to talk about will stay in effect for that fire. It can spread, but it won't go out unless you put it out.
Yeah.
So...
So weather, we'll mention it now, I guess, just to let you know, weather does play a factor with fire. So
yes.
that can...
But again, weather is an optional rule.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So if you're not using weather, but you are using fire, then you won't have the option of having the weather put the fire out, you see? So...
Whether it does or not. That's a lot of weather.
Yeah, weather. Oh dear. Okay, so shall we talk about how to start a fire first?
I think so.
Okay, because that's fun.
This is when the parents walk in and go, "What are you listening to?
What are you watching?
How to start fire?"
Who is that psycho in the BattleTech? Starting fires. Because the fire starter was my first mech, and I just love the idea of that one mech taking down an entire lance because he set the forest on fire and burned them all out. So you'll see in the fire table on page 44 of TAC Ops. I hope Pillar got that. So it should be up now. There. You've got a weapon type and you've got a success number. So what you're basically doing is you are shooting at if you want to intentionally start a fire, you are shooting at a hex, and given the type of hex that it is, whether it's actually burnable or not.
Right. So a clear hex isn't going to do anything for you.
No.
Water hex, unless it's got some sort of flammable thing on it. But.
Yeah. So who intend to start a fire may declare that their unit will fire its weapons at any woods, jungle or building hex. Modify the base 2 hit number by -4 for an immobile target for this attack, as well as for the attacker's normal movement and other appropriate modifiers. So if you're running around the board and jumping all over the place, you're going to take modifiers for that. But you get a -4 for shooting at a hex.
Yeah.
So
it is still a barn. But the broadside, you probably miss it. So just slow down.
On a successful attack, the player rolls 2d6 and consults the fire table.
Yeah.
Okay, so that wasn't your roll on the fire table. That was just to see if you hit the hex that you're aiming at. And then you roll on the fire table. So you apply all appropriate modifiers based on the weapon used and any planetary conditions that may be in use, or the type of building hex. If the attack starts a fire, place a fire counter on the target hex. Multiple successful attempts to start a fire do not make the fire larger. Okay, remember that. And I'm going to point out that Inferno missiles, along with plasma weapons, have an automatic starting.
That's right, because it's hot.
Which is just awesome. They just automatically start.
Yeah.
They're great.
Although flamers aren't too bad either with a 4+.
4+ for a flamer. There are incendiary ammo for the LRMs.
Did we talk about those briefly on the LRM?
I think
ammo?
we mentioned them, yeah. There wasn't really much to talk about because we hadn't done this fire and smoke thing, but
No.
I think we may even have binged this table up just briefly. Then you've got direct fire energy or pulse. Now you can't use small lasers, ER small lasers, or any kind of micro laser. Okay, so you know that's a thing. And then you've got missile or direct fire ballistic weapons. And that one is so you can't use Gauss rifles, SRM2s, or conventional SRM infantry. Obviously, that doesn't apply if they're firing Infernos,
yeah.
Okay. But standard ammos, you can't use the Gauss rifle, the SRM2s, or the SRM infantry.
Right, there you go.
And then plasma weapons and Inferno weapons. You've got missile Inferno, Inferno fuel ammo, Inferno for artillery, Inferno bombs, and incendiary grenades. All music to my ears. Let's do the lot in one
It all creates fire.
Then you've got some modifiers there for the type of terrain that you're in. And you can see deep snow and jungle actually have a +1 and a +2. Because jungles typically aren't very dry and fiery. You've got to try hard to set a jungle on fire.
Yeah.
And deep snow.
Well, yeah.
But there's a few different types of buildings. Standard walls, fortresses, all that sort of thing. And then you've got weather as well. Now, your weather is, like I say, an optional rule, but if you are including it, then it will play a big part in this fire and smoke thing.
Yeah.
So take it into consideration. Was it except under the following conditions in vacuum? Obviously, you can't start fires in vacuum. No matter what sci-fi movies tell you. Trace atmospheric pressures, and in Tornado F1, F3, and Tornado F4+, no fire is possible.
Yeah. You can play a game in a tornado. I mean, you can, and I knew you could, but then it's like... My locust moves onto the board.
I would look more on the tornado as, I don't know, I'd assume they're talking about a cyclone rather than a tornado. The tornadoes are fairly specific. That's the twisters.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I think you call a cyclone in the southern hemisphere, but you call a cyclone a tornado in the northern hemisphere. So,
are you sure?
The big ones.
That's a bit different to tomato.
Yeah, it is.
Cyclone tomato. Doesn't matter.
Potato patreon. Oh dear.
Anyway, we'll get the sidetrack. Okay.
We are.
So terrain as well can play a factor. All right. So your buildings and things like that. So it is nice to know that you can actually still start some pretty whopping big fires in the urban jungle.
Yeah.
And that's pretty handy if you're going up against infantry, if they're all sort of in there. Flush them out.
Yeah. And that's intentionally wanting to start a fire. But what can happen is if you're using the accidental fire rule, then missing a shot into a flammable area will actually has a chance to set a fire.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. And there are, in here somewhere, there's a misshot rule as well. Misshot rules, page 81. So there's optional rules even for more advanced shot missing, which is just crazy. Okay, so you can go a long way with this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But basically, if you miss a shot, weapon attack against a unit occupying a wooded jungle hex misses its target, and the weapon can be used to start fires. The attacking player rolls 2d6 to determine whether his attack accidentally set a fire. On a result of 2 or 3, the player should make another roll as though he were intentionally setting the hex on fire. So it's not very easy to accidentally do it. You have to miss. It has to be a flammable hex. You have to roll a 2 or a 3.
Yeah.
And then you have to roll again to see if that weapon type sets that hex on fire.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
God, that's if you're firing all those weapons all the time. Yeah, that's a lot of dice rolls. I don't know. Maybe on a 1v1.
Yeah, yeah.
If
you've got a couple of hours to kill, like a few hours to kill, and you want to do a 1v1 in like lots of different terrain and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
that would be cool.
Would be weird.
Bring in as many options.
Yeah, but if you've got like, well, that's just too much rolling. I think. Sorry. I love the rules and all that sort of thing. It's cool that they made the rules and it's there and you can use them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to sort of balance it out.
And if you're doing some sort of weird stuff with your like game building, like you're letting people pick different optional rules and things like that. If you know somebody takes a lot of energy heavy laser boats, things like supernovas and junk, things that have got a lot of lasers on them.
Yeah.
Even something like an awesome or a bug or something like that, right? You've got a lot of energy weapons flying around the place. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You just go, oh yeah, I'm gonna put the accidental fire thing in. Yeah.
It's cool.
Could backfire on you, obviously. Haha.
All right. So what actually happens when a fire starts? What does that actually mean in your games? So we should have a look at that now, I suppose.
Yes, effects of fire.
Yes.
The most important one is heat,
Yeah.
obviously.